on top at the Douala Central Market, notably at the Kululun area of the market, where forces of law and order have been in conflict with traders of this market for the second day consecutively. What is at the origin of this crisis and what is the evolution? Find out when we return in a couple of seconds for the news in full. That is after the short break. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on tonight's edition of the news here on DBS Television with me, Cynthia Ngwemu. We begin the news here from the city of Douala, as the city of Douala is known to have been the center or a major witness of crisis and violent conflicts between traders of the Douala Central Market and the forces of law and order in the city. While one party seeks to get rid of urban disorder within the city, another one seeks to preserve what they consider as their source of livelihood. Now let us go and revisit or visit the origin of this crisis as Mange Venasius brings us there in the following report.
In order to curb the ever-growing urban disorder within the city of Douala, council authorities of Douala 2 municipality, in collaboration with the Douala City Council, have taken the fight to the Douala main market, a section that is mostly occupied by tailors and seamstresses at the esplanade of the post office, has been meticulously shaded out by 1 meter square per individual. These spaces will be at the sum of 100,000 francs per year paid to the council, a situation which these traders find it difficult to swallow.
We were here ever since long time ago without a problem. We come here those on Monday last week, Monday day before yesterday. We come to draw the squares. Each of the squares says, they say 1 square will be 100,000. We cannot afford it. We are the simple hustlers. I'm here like a day. I cannot have the sum of 2,000. How can I afford the place of 100,000? We can't end this. Please, people should look about this our problem. We can't do it without you people. Please, government, look about our problem and help us. Please, I beg you people, by God's name.
Going by their argument, it would imply that their daily fee paid to the council comes down to about 297 francs a day. Council authorities indicate that laid down rules stipulate that these traders, when paid the amount, will be exonerated from all other taxes. Even at that, these traders are not in accord with the measure. The traders also raise another issue where some well-placed traders occupying shops in the main market still come out to collect the spaces and then resell to them at a comparatively expensive rate. The lack of understanding between the two parties led to flaring tempers, and forces of law and order stepped in to restore order, a process that saw some traders sustaining injuries. Even at that, these traders are not ready to stand back.
The traders in the Douala Central Market are indeed not ready or willing to stand back in the fight for what they consider as preserving their only source of livelihood, while agents of municipal police broke the traders' stance at the Nkululun part of the Central Market since yesterday, May 26. The traders indulged in a physical confrontation with the agents of the law. To push back the protesting crowd, they fired tear gas at the traders in an activity that lasted over an hour. Eyewitnesses say the arrival of anti-riot police at the scene brought relative calm around the Nkululun market and its neighborhoods, while nearly 20 people were wounded and arrested. While municipal authorities carrying out the clearing of public spaces say they are doing so to get rid of urban disorder and to ensure cleanliness, the traders oppose the activity, saying they pay taxes to occupy and sell in the spaces they do, even on the pathway, and so they believe that they have the right to be there. Still in the city of Douala and in the same ambience with market and trade, but without conflicts this time around, the first edition of Le Weekend You Made in Cameroon has begun in the city of Douala, scheduled to take place from the 27th to the 30th of May 2021. It is expected to bring together local producers as well as entrepreneurs to promote the ideology of Made in Cameroon label, as well as introduce the product to a large variety of products made in Cameroon. Mange Venasius tells us more of this in the following report.
For 4 days, Douala city dwellers will have the opportunity to discover a variety of local products and the creativity of our entrepreneurs from the 27th to the 30th of May 2021. Taking place at the Douala Grand Mall, the initiative dubbed Le Weekend You Made in Cameroon has been placed under the theme, The Challenges of the Distribution of Made in Cameroon Products. 4 days during which there will be exhibitions, sales, tastings, and talks. Talks like a press conference in which promoters explained the concept to media men and women Thursday, May 27th, 2021 in Douala.
Creating a venue where the producers, distributors and consumers can meet around that thematic, and while having their production being exposed during those days, 3-4 days, having also taken the opportunity to have experience exchange.
This first edition of Le Weekend You Made in Cameroon, a concept that is expected to boast local know-how, will henceforth become a regular rendezvous for the city of Douala after every 3 months. It will equally be an occasion to demystify access into the Douala Grand Mall, especially for local producers and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs whom many decry the bottlenecks involved in legalizing their activities.
People often think that the major problem is subvention. Away from that, we have that problem of acquiring papers because we want to be legalized and known. There are many things that are demanded in terms of money and a lot of administrative procedures for a single product. We pray the government to facilitate things for us to promote this Made in Cameroon that has become a label.
It is an event placed under the patronage of the Ministry of Commerce.
Still in economy, the realization of the African Continental Free Trade Area Initiative has gone under review in Yaoundé today. This was through a video conference organized by the Interprogress Foundation. The different participants were able to exchange ideas on how this initiative can be applied effectively. Ate Bonaventure has details.
The quest to accelerate intra-African trade and boosting Africa's position in the global market is what prompted the organization of this online conference.
All those agreements are signed, but in terms of effectivity or effectiveness, we are not very so far for the time being. There is a lot to do, to go through, in terms of infrastructure, so and so. So, for me, in my opinion, it needs some maybe at least 5 to 10 years.
The opening plenary session held under the theme Free Trade Area as Tool for Facilitating Intracontinental Trade. It has been an occasion for participants to evaluate progress made in terms of implementation of the terms of reference.
To get, to the effective one in terms of performance, as I give you the example of the European Union or ASEAN, it took 20, 30, 40 years. As far as the question of industrialization and the question of, let's say, development in our countries is concerned. So I think that is a very critical point.
Interprogress Foundation, through this platform, is also laying the groundwork ahead of the 8th International Fair for the promotion of small and medium-sized enterprises, promote.
Still in Yaoundé, some 18 young Cameroonians who recently underwent a particular or special training in first aid and volunteering have received the end-of-course certificates, this making them ambassadors of the Cameroon Red Cross. The training, which is an initiative of the association known as Building Families, is aimed at teaching the trainees to serve their communities freely within periods of natural disasters. Let's get more of this with Ate Bonaventure once again.
A happy end for these laureates who have officially joined the Red Cross in the Mefu and Afamba division after several weeks of intense formation. The special training is an initiative of Building Stable Families Humanitarian Association.
With the Red Cross, we organize a training for them to help in case of accident of any other issue, so they can help people before the help coming from Yaoundé or from anywhere else. So we train 22 young people and just 18 succeeded at the exam.
The ceremony was an occasion for the new first aid volunteers to demonstrate their know-how.
We cannot leave them so after the training. Firstly, we will ask them to send us our program, and at time we will come back at time to see if they are making a good job.
Pioneer executive members of the Ekoko 2 branch of the humanitarian movement were officially installed by the second deputy mayor of Mfu, Mbezele Eyenga, who lauded the initiative of the founder of BSF.
Many problems comes from families because families are not stable by now. So I decided to create an association, Building Stable Family, to help families to rebuild their links, to help young people in families, spouses, children, parents, to be stable, and we know if you have a stable family, you have a stable society.
Ekoko 2 is a locality in Simalen along the National Road number 4 in the Mefu and Afamba division.
We now round up the news with stories out of Cameroon. In Mali, the interim president Ba Ndao as well as his prime minister have resigned from their positions after they were arrested and detained by the military. Also, the French president Emmanuel Macron has met in Rwanda with the president Paul Kagame in order to discuss improving relations between both nations 27 years after the Rwandan genocide. Let's get more of these stories in the Africa Roundup segment with Rogea Tububa.
Mali's interim president and prime minister have resigned 2 days after they were arrested by the military. Soldiers led by the interim vice president Assimi Goïta arrested President Ba Ndao and Prime Minister Mokhtar Ouane and took them to a military base after a cabinet reshuffle in which 2 officers lost their posts. The military's action have jeopardized Mali's return to democracy following a coup last August and drawn condemnation from international powers. A member of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which is visiting the country in an attempt to resolve the standoff, confirmed the president's resignation. During a meeting with Goïta, the ECOWAS delegation led by ex-Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan raised the possibility of sanctions against the officers responsible for the takeover. The United Nations Security Council called for the swift, immediate and unconditional release of all officials detained in Mali by elements of the defense and security forces. Goïta, who led the coup in August against President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, declared Ndao and Ouane had violated the transitional charter by failing to consult him about the new cabinet. He promised that elections planned for next year at the end of the transitional period will go ahead. French President Emmanuel Macron has been welcomed by Rwandan President Paul Kagame to start a key visit Thursday in which the French leader tries to mend relations with the Central African country. 27 years after the genocide, Macron arrived in Rwandan capital, Kigali, early Thursday and went to the presidential residence to meet Kagame. Macron then toured a memorial in the capital to the uncontrolled 1994 slaughter that killed an estimated 800,000 people, mainly minority Tutsis and moderate Hutus, who tried to protect them from Hutu extremists. Macron's trip built a series of French efforts since his election in 2017 to repair ties between the two countries. Kagame, who has been Rwanda's de facto leader since 1994 and is president since 2000, has won praise abroad for restoring order and making advances in economic development and health care. From Rwanda, Macron will travel to South Africa, where he will meet the president to discuss COVID-19 and regional crises, including one in Mozambique.
With that, we draw the curtains on tonight's edition of the news here on DBS Television. Thanks for watching, but do well to stay with us and get informed throughout the evening. Good night.
For this Thursday, the 27th of May, 2021, we begin press review in education with Educational News newspaper telling us on page 2 that the Ministry of Secondary Education releases required book list for the